going to tell you about the Bread and Puppet Theater. To begin with, there's a magic sewn into the very fabric of Bread and Puppet that I think can only be experienced by seeing them in person. There's a whole way of thinking and living that they seem to bring to every aspect of their practice. The way I see it, Bread and Puppet is built on a belief in the power of human creativity to bring people together and work towards creating a better world. There is also a common understanding of how beautifully puppets, food, cheap art, music, dancing, political activism, and general celebration all go hand in hand. Peter Schumann founded the theater in 1963. Since then, Bread and Puppet has brought tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people together at shows and parades across the country to celebrate and to protest, to entertain, and to be heard. My name is Kyle Brodie, and I'm a student at Hampshire College. This past summer, I went on a cross-country tour with Hampshire's very own Crisscross Circus, which was heavily inspired by Bread and Puppet. So, when I was deciding on this project, it was obvious to me that I should study their histories and traditions and follow them on tour.
Welcome to the Sourdough Philosophy Circus!
No, I'm just kidding.
We're a touring band of papier-mâché insurrectionists trying to ferment cultural insurrection revolution through, I guess you could say, media, through our own media that is cheap and accessible and live media, real media that people look at, sit down and see
And listen to.
in front of them and listen to in the real world.
And dancing.
And that exists, in the real world. So we go and we present somebody with something. So much of the media we're getting these days is all coming through earphones and through a television box and through, pipes and speakers through the walls, and we're totally over inundated, and it's really destroying our capacity to grasp reality.
The history of Bread and Puppet centers around this man. After training and working as a dancer and sculptor in Germany, Peter Schumann emigrated to New York City in 1961. In 1963, he founded the Bread and Puppet Theater, inviting his friends and neighbors to perform in small theaters, on street corners, and in parades. As the 1960s heated up, the troupe became a common spectacle at protests and demonstrations. In the late 60s, Schumann moved the troupe to Goddard College in northern Vermont, and soon after to a nearby farm that remains the home of Bread and Puppet to this day. Once settled at the farm, Bread and Puppet began to host an annual summer festival entitled Our Domestic Resurrection Circus, a weekend-long event culminating in a grand pageant involving many enormous puppets and more than 100 volunteer performers. By the mid-1990s, the festival began to get unmanageably large as summer crowds swelled into the tens of thousands. Sadly, in 1998, a man was killed in a fistfight at the festival, and Bread and Puppet decided to end its summer tradition. Since then, the troupe performs every summer weekend up at the farm in Glover, and spends much of the rest of the year touring. First, I followed them to Honkfest, a radical marching brass band festival and parade in Somerville and Cambridge, Massachusetts.
It's really great. With all these groups, it's like the event really makes a lot of sense because all these like radical activist street bands that are all over the world and the country, and we're all doing the same thing essentially, playing music on the street and being politically active, and then for them to all come together to one place is so energizing and uplifting. And I feel like, at least for us, we come here and then we're able to take the energy that we get, just being so pumped up back to what we do in Vermont and touring, just knowing there's so many of these bands around doing the same thing. It's awesome.
You go to some of these big marches and rallies and it can get very heavy and very depressing, and then you have this beautiful band like these bands that are playing today, and it's fun, and you remember like what's really wonderful about being human and being with other people, and it keeps us positive.
Once more, Bread and Puppet Theater, giant puppets and manners.
Bread and Puppet uses a range of theatrical and artistic styles to express their message. By presenting information in different ways, it keeps the show interesting and allows for political messages to come across in an unthreatening way.
It is my privilege to present to you now the long-awaited, totally, utterly, and completely authorized edition of the Federal Cookbook! Bang! Election! Stew! Stew! Is a stew with hardly any ingredients. Simply scramble all the leftovers from the last administration and bake at the standard temperature until it acquires the familiar old taste.
Because a lot of people will agree with the message but not take action, and that's one of the final messages with the donkeys. So it's the responsibility of the people to take the action.
Like just right now, a girl came and say, "Oh, I didn't see the circus, but 6 years and a half ago, Bread and Puppet came to my high school, and I learned a Georgian song. Do you know it?" And I said, "Oh, sing it to me." And she sang me the whole Georgian song, and I was really impressed. And I'm like, I sang it, I don't know it by heart. Her eyes were so open, and I know that that song meant so much for her that she came up to me and say that. So sometimes it's just in different ways how I think we change or open or wake up people.
Everywhere Bread and Puppet goes, they invite members of the local community to be in the show. Anyone interested shows up at the appointed hour to learn the steps and the moves. And wouldn't you know it, they let me in too.
Is to have like a really convincing zombie face, because if you're out there just kind of like looking around, it's just
Not a bit just distorted otherwise.
yeah. So we want the zombie face to be like really mean, like like a teeth.
Right.
So let's just like play right now and be zombies, so we can just.
Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the USDOT, in preparation for their closing ceremony routine, will perform their dance of the spread of democracy.
Puppets are associated with kids, so you let down your guard when you see a puppet show. What I've come in contact with, you let down your guard, so the messages that are behind it have a little more resonance. They get in a little bit deeper somewhere. But if you can get an audience to be there for a minute, you can kind of capture their inner child or whatever it is, and then hit them with something more powerful.
When Bread and Puppet came to Hampshire, I asked them if I could do an opening act for them. I don't know how I got them to say yes, but it certainly was an honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Bread and Puppet! My name is Raleigh Screesley, and I'm the ringmaster for Hampshire's very own Crisscross Circus. I'm also a member of Circus Folk Unite, Hampshire's circus group. So let's give it up for them as well. Okay. Today, I present to you Team Human Beings. All you have to do to be a member is use the resources available to you to help protect and take care of the earth. So, today, our resources are our hands. So what I'm going to do is pass the earth ball around, and let's see if we can get it all the way around the audience without it blowing away or getting popped. Take care and protect. All right. Bye, earth ball.
Be careful.
Careful, careful.
Whoa.
Watch it. There we go. Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right. Coming back around. Oh. And now, on with the show.
After all the touring and singing and dancing and parading, the troupe still makes their way home to the farm in Glover. It's their bakery, the keeper of their history, and their home.
Every time, the Redeemers, the Redeemers, the Redeemers, the Redeemers, Ready, go. Eternal are thy mercies, Lord. Eternal truth attends thy word. Thy praise shall sound, thy praise shall sound, thy praise shall sound, thy praise shall sound from shore to shore till the sun shall rise and set no more. Thy praise shall sound, thy praise shall sound, thy praise shall sound, thy praise shall sound from shore to shore till the sun shall rise and set no more. Blessings abound wherever.
Although it can be cast off as just a puppet show, Bread and Puppet clearly has something more to offer, and it's not just the bread. They are not afraid to speak their minds and have fun while doing it. There is a freedom to go with intuition over reason, and a drive to push human creativity to its limit. But most of all, even though they use so many different forms of communicating, their most effective one is simply that they embody their message in the way they live their lives.
Unless the car does something wrong, they probably stop for pee and snack. In 5 minutes, they're back on